so much for staying with us. Let's now shift gears. You're back in studio. We want to talk about a different topic altogether, and we're looking at the state of engineering sector in Kenya. With me in studio, I have Engineer Shama Kiteme, that is the president of IEK. IEK is the Institution of Engineers of Kenya in this country, and basically it's a body that brings together engineers in this country and looks at their welfare. So we want to ask him, what is the state of engineering sector in Kenya? Are they well catered to? Are they well taken care of? And that's what we're talking about this morning. Karibu sana, engineer.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's just go right into it. What is the status of the engineering sector in Kenya?
Well, thank you very much for having me this morning, and always good to engage in this subject. Let me just start by introducing myself. Yes. My name is Engineer Shama Kiteme. I am the president of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. I am an engineer by training, by experience and practice. I practice in the areas of structural engineering, wastewater engineering and airport engineering. And I truly appreciate this opportunity to discuss this matter. I think, of course, I will begin by sad news that the state is not very good, and we've been very vocal about this, the fact that we have actually an employment rate among engineers over 50%. We have the country more or less focusing on infrastructure solutions, but these infrastructure solutions are being driven by nationals from other countries, making engineers who are trained in Kenya go without work and without occupation. And if you move from Mandera to Migori, if you move from Lamu to Lokichar, you are going to find this country is literally a construction site.
Right.
But 85% of mega projects in this country are done by foreign firms at exclusion of Kenyan firms. We also have a situation where even projects like affordable housing program, which we have and which is going on, our members who are participating are actually underpaid. The payment is not commensurate to statutory requirements, and so there is a deliberate effort to underpay our members who are involved in this project. We also have a very big problem of pending bills and a big problem with the taxman who is coming for us. We do in projects, the little that we have, we raise invoices to be paid by government. The government is not paying us because of the big problem of pending bills. But the taxman wants us to pay the tax. And sadly, this problem is taking down many of our members. We also have significantly a couple of what we call clearly misplaced priorities in infrastructure, because we need to think integrated in infrastructure in terms of, so the state is not very good and calls for concerted efforts to address the challenges that we face in the industry.
It's a rocky state of affairs in the engineering sector.
Yes, yes, yes.
And if you're talking about engineering in broader perspective, I know there's a lot of engineering cadres, and I wonder what you're talking about if you're looking at it from every cadre. We have civil, mechanical, electrical, chemical. I don't know if I've left anything out, but I've also had a lot of complaints. I've seen a lot of complaints from a section of engineers that civil engineers are given so much prominence and they have a voice as opposed to other engineers. So when you talk about the sector being rocky for engineers, what are we looking at? Is it all these cadres or just a particular cadre?
So let me say this, and from the onset, anyone telling you that civil engineers are being given prominence, I am a civil engineer, and I'll be deliberate not to be biased, because the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, where I'm the president, we have membership of over 14,000, and among those we have civil engineers, we have electrical engineers, mechanical, agricultural, aeronautical, chemical, mechatronic, mining, all sort of engineers are our members, and we fight for all of them. Matter of fact, 27th August this year, I led street protests with what was a peaceful march from our offices in Kindaruma Road to Nyayo House. And the running call was employment opportunities for 10,000 engineers. In the register of the Engineers Board of Kenya, we have 28,000 registered engineers, 4 categories.
Okay.
And so if we take the route of saying civil engineers are favored, it will be like in a family of many kids, and there is little or no food, and you are scrambling for the little that is there, and you start saying your sibling is getting more and all that. Instead of going for the bigger kill to solve the problem of lack of food or scarcity, then you start squabbling within yourself, which is actually a miss. So it is a misstatement to say civil engineers are preferred. That is not the case.
So you do,
when we go out,
you do disagree that there is infighting with, that sibling fight.
What I'm saying is, when there are lack opportunities, it is affecting the agricultural engineer, the aeronautical engineer, the mechatronic engineer, the civil engineer, the electrical engineer, the mechanical engineer. Perhaps the narrative that civil engineers are favored is because everywhere you move, you're going to see a building which requires structural engineer with a civil engineer. Everywhere you move, there's a road, which is a solution provided by a civil engineer. But what our approach has been all-inclusive. We've said we want to look at industrialization to create opportunities. When we invest in manufacturing, we create opportunities for electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, mechatronic engineers, textile engineers. When we invest in mining, we create opportunities for mining engineers. When we go out there to advocate for engineers, we say we want mechanical engineers and electrical engineers to be involved in the approval process of buildings, for example, because this building requires the structural engineer to design the structure. It requires the architect to design for the space. It requires the QS to do the costing, but it requires the electrical engineer to design for power infrastructure. It requires mechanical engineer to design for the comfort of this building. When we talk about power generation, for example, we are talking about the space for mechanical and electrical engineers. When His Excellency the President says, we want now to generate 10,000 megawatts of power, we are talking about possible opportunities for engineers. We are talking about possible opportunities for electrical and mechanical engineers. So we say, when we go out as an Institution of Engineers of Kenya for advocacy, we advocate for all engineers. And I've been privileged to be involved in formulating some of the instruments that govern this country, like the building code. We fought for the electrical engineers, for the mechanical engineers to be involved in the approval of buildings and so. So it will be a mistake to focus on saying, oh, the agricultural engineer is benefiting a lot, while we should focus on ramping up agriculture for food security for this country. And in that process, creating opportunities for the agricultural engineer, for the mechanical engineer, for the electrical engineer in agro-processing, in actual production of food in the field, in manufacturing the equipment that we need for agriculture, in manufacturing for fertilizer. So when we address the problems, we address the problems for all engineers. All
right. And you've mentioned something here that, and I saw this, you're still using this hashtag, by the way, on your X platform, hashtag 10K Engineers March. And you said, of course, you staged a protest sometimes this year in August. But the running call was for creation of this 10,000 workers. And of course, you are protesting against the bringing in of foreign workers, foreign engineers in the country and in your sector, lack of employment as well. But 2 months later, what is the process and mefikia wapi, Because if you're talking about, the hashtag, you're still using it in November, mwaka inaisha, you want 10,000 engineers, then how sustainable is that for your employer?
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. Now, 10,000 opportunities or employment opportunities for engineers is not a word we harvested in the air. It's something we thought through very carefully. And we presented a memorandum to His Excellency the President. Now, we looked around and said, if we have 50% unemployment rate, we're talking about 13,000 to 14,000 unemployed engineers, because the register has 28,000. We looked at the road sector and we realized If you go to the road sector, for instance, and make sure that an engineer is not a resident engineer for 11 projects, 8 projects, or it's only a resident engineer for one project, you're going to create like 15,000, 1,500 good jobs for engineers. If you go to the building sector and make sure that you don't allocate the affordable housing project, one consortia, 8 projects, but one consortia takes a maximum of 3 projects, you're going to create some very good 4,000 jobs for engineers. We looked at the energy sector and said, if you don't give this work to Adani and others who are foreign firms, because erecting a power pole here and another one there and pulling power cable does not need a foreign expertise. I appreciate that setting up a nuclear power plant requires foreign expertise because you don't have it locally. But pulling power cables, Kenyan engineers can do that. If you do that, then you're going to create employment opportunities for 2,000 engineers. You go to the mining sector, you ramp up extractives, you're going to create employment opportunities. If you go to aviation, in the railway sector, and we say, we need to have railways coming from Mandera to Nairobi, to Kana to Nairobi. We need to create airstrips and airports. This country needs at least 2 other major airports, in addition to expanding JKIA. You're going to create about 1,000 good employment opportunities. If you invest in agriculture, irrigation, construction of mega dams and all that, you're going to create over 2,000 good jobs for Kenyan engineers. And so we say 10,000 is a figure we arrived at looking all the sectors where engineers are involved, and we say, if you do this, you're going to create 10,000 good jobs. And we presented our petition to His Excellency the President on 27th August this year, because that is Katiba Day. And we presented our petition. The good thing is that His Excellency, the Executive Office of the President, responded and directed the Cabinet Secretary for Labor to look into our issues. So we are waiting for the movement towards that direction. But what you're saying is that we are using the hashtag because we know it is possible. If you do not give opportunities to foreign firms, you trust Kenyans who are experienced, qualified, knowledgeable, and by the way, the best engineers in this country are coming from this country in this world. You are able to create 10,000 job opportunities for engineers. So it is not just a number, it's not a figure, it is well thought out.
It's sustainable and doable.
It is sustainable, it is doable.
We are looking at, for example, the big courses here that we have in the country. We have the doctors, judges, engineers, of course, and lawyers. But you know, there's also been concerns that, you know, engineers don't have a union to champion for their rights in regards to, you know, better payment. If you're looking at these doctors, judges, and lawyers, they're paid well. And, you know, some engineers claim that even for intern doctors, you know, there's a very good stipend that they're given every month in the course of their study. But whose job is it for these engineers? Is it IEK? Is it EBK? Whose job is it to champion for the better pay? For
the time being, the Institution of Engineers of Kenya has been fighting for the welfare through advocacy for the welfare of engineers. And that is why we engaged with Public Service Commission from 15th December 2022 to improve the terms of service for engineers, career progression guidelines, and the entry grade in the public service. When we engaged in 2022, 2023, 2024, and we realized PSC was adamant, we took the matter to court to petition that the entry grade for engineers can be improved from job group K to L, which is commensurate to other professional colleagues who take more than 4 years in the university. Engineers take 5 years in the university, doctors 2 and all that. And you realize their entry grade is better than that one for engineers. So when PSC was adamant, we went to court and we are petitioning for that. We also petition for engineers to enjoy non-practicing allowance, risk allowance, and other allowances, just like our colleagues in the health sector and in the legal sector enjoy. So we took up the matter of advocacy and fighting for engineers because that is what IEK is supposed to do, fighting for the welfare of engineers. Now the question of the union is second one. We have supported establishment of the Union for Engineers. I've taken initiative and I have supported that initiative. If it comes around and another registration process is ongoing, well and good. But before that happens, IEK has taken the role of fighting for the welfare of engineers, and the council where I'm the president has done more than anyone has ever done, any other council has ever done.
All right. We'll be looking out for that to see how that progresses.
Yeah.
But I want to take you back. You said the trained engineers are 27,000 or 28?
28,000 in the register today.
How many are employed? Those are trained, but how many?
I said the unemployment rate is 50% in this country for engineers. So that means about give or take 13,000 to 14,000.
In the whole country?
Yes.
Then clearly there's a crisis there. But what is the procedure to becoming a certified, qualified engineer in this country?
Engineering has the longest career path for you to get certified. You go to the university and get a 5-year course degree. When you graduate, it is expected that you have acquired what you call graduate attributes. And then by statute, you're supposed to go through a 3-year initial professional development period, where you are expected to gain what we call professional competency. Those are 8 years. After that, now you appear before the board, which now you're supposed to submit training and experience report showing what you have been doing, and you also submit a project report of a project you have done. Then when you face a panel, you're interviewed, and if you pass the professional examination, then you become a registered engineer. Now, the moment you graduate, you're supposed to register as a graduate engineer. And then you go through the training, then you register, you pass the professional examination, you become a professional engineer. Now, that is a whopping 8 years. If you check our colleagues, whether architects, lawyers, doctors, they either take 6 or 7 years. So engineers have the longest career path. That's why I say it is very unfair when then you subject to those people through such rigorous training, and then we see infrastructure being rolled out in the country, and Kenyan engineers are denied the opportunity. Now, what we are saying is the opportunities are available. Kenyan engineers go through a very thorough training. They are qualified. They are experienced. They have the know-how. Therefore, we should now start providing local solutions to our problems.
All right. I know you sit at the top seat there. Maybe you're privy to this information. How many foreign engineers do we have in this country? Because I know that is a concern to you guys, that foreign engineers are in the country, and I don't know if you're working well with them or if you have an agreement with them. How many are they?
From the outset, let me say this. I have practiced across the region. Djibouti, Ethiopia, Burundi, all over. And we work globally with colleagues. So we have no enmity whatsoever. We work very well. Now, the problem comes when there's a deliberate effort to go against the law, because the Public Procurement and Disposal Act is very categorical, and the public procurement regulations on how in a public procurement we should give preference to local contractors and citizen contractors. And in instances where we don't have local capacity and we give foreign firms and all that, there are provisions whereby 20% of senior management in these opportunities, they are created to Kenyans. 75% of the job opportunities, they are availed to Kenyans. There are provisions where you should give 30% preference, public procurement preference to interest groups, and even 40% local content. So there are clear provisions of the law. So when we see, therefore, that 85% of mega projects have been given to foreign firms, we're saying there's a big problem. Non-compliance, lack of implementation of the law. And the law is also very clear, very categorical, that this law must be complied with, and we have to do monitoring. Public Procurement Regulatory Authority should do compliance check and report to Parliament every 6 months. So what we're saying is, we know there are instances we have no local capacity, and we are okay with that. But the law also provides for technology transfer and skills transfer, so that we do not build standard gauge railway from Mombasa to Naivasha using foreign expertise. And we still want foreign expertise to build it from Naivasha to Malabo to Western Kenya. No, we're saying there should be, as per the law, a way of transferring knowledge and skills to Kenya. So the register has only about 200, but we know there are more. In fact, in some sectors like the sugar industry in the Western Kenya, we do have over 1,000 foreign workers. And the other painful thing is not just foreign workers. It is technicians, technologists, and engineers. When we have equivalent knowledgeable people in this country who can do the work, therefore we ask us why the preference of foreigners to do work that Kenyans can do now. Over here in Talanta Stadium, we do have electricians, plumbers imported from outside. And we are saying, why do we hate our own so much that we are creating opportunities and we want Kenyan engineers to be there watching, spectators, when infrastructure is being done in their own country for work that they can do? We don't believe this is good. It is not sustainable because we need people who can maintain this infrastructure once done. And this needs to be Kenyan engineers, Kenyan technicians, technologists.
Have the capacity.
Yes, we do.
All right. And wouldn't it cost the country less if at all we invested in the capacity that we already have in the country, as opposed to, bringing in foreign engineers? Because I know for sure if you're bringing in these foreign engineers, a foreign firm, it costs much more than it will cost, a Kenyan engineering firm. Don't you think so?
It does so. But even more unfair situation, and what we are advocating for, we are saying, look, the arrangement right now is, even when you want to give Kenyan farms, we give foreign farms the bigger share to be in a joint venture with Kenyan farms. The donkey work is done by Kenyan farms, all the money goes to the foreign counterparts. There is a clear and calculated intention to disadvantage Kenyan farms. And what we are saying is, when we have the local capacity and the law is very clear, please give these opportunities to Kenyan farms. It is good for this country long term. It is sustainable. We are able to conceive our own infrastructure. We are able to be patriotic to offer our services to this country and do excellent infrastructure. I refuse to believe that I need to have a foreign engineer to come here to upgrade a road to Maram to bitumen standard. I refuse that, because when I was a fourth-year university student, I did attachment and I did exactly that. We have very many competent engineers that can do this. The problem I know comes into finance agreements that we get into. And that is where I'm getting to by saying, now we need to think about providing local solutions. To turn around our situation, we must be deliberate to invest in productive sectors like agriculture, manufacturing, and mining. And we must also be very deliberate to build industries where we can provide what we need to support these productive sectors. We must also invest in irrigation. We must invest in local fertilizer manufacturing so that we support food production, etc. And we invest in dams and water ponds. We're able to provide water for irrigation and start solving our own local solutions. We also have to invest, of course, like I said, in the roads, railways, airports that can be that can help us in evacuating our produce in the different sectors. So we must start thinking locally, so that what forces us to go and look for external financing and get into covenants and agreements that disadvantage our own citizens, we drop that kind of approach, because we are capable of providing local solutions. And we have seen affordable housing, for example, it is financed locally. Ethiopia has lowered its foreign debt in 6 years from 80%, from 23 billion US dollars to 4.5 billion US dollars from 2019 to 2025. So it is possible to provide local solutions, and what we are advocating for. Yeah.
All right, and it's crazy because a lot of construction, as you said, is going on in this country for unemployment to be an issue in the engineering sector. But we see here that tenders and large projects often go to these foreign engineers, as you've talked about. But there's also a lot of stereotyping that Kenyan engineers do shoddy jobs. I know you've heard of this maybe. Sometimes they're saying that, oh, huyu hatapatiwa that tender because huwa malizi, or that road maybe mvua ikinyeshea, there will be a crack and then it won't be serving the people as it should. Then clearly there's a trust deficit with Kenyan engineers. But as IEK, then what are you doing to address that issue of trust deficit with your engineers?
I want to agree that there's trust deficit with Kenyan engineers, but I also want to state when the hyena wants to eat its children, you start saying they are smelling like the goat. So it's a question of stereotyping. It is easier to cut deals with foreigners than Kenyans, corrupt deals. And therefore, partly, the stereotyping is deliberate. It's a calculated move. What we have done internally is we have professional code of ethics, which we continue to remind our members through webinars and sessions to tell them we must stick to the path of honesty. I will tell you this. I have delivered an infrastructure project, which the feasibility study was done by American engineers. I came in and did the detailed design, did the tendering, and identified a contractor. We supervised the project implementation with the British engineers. When I finished, and Canadian engineers, when we finished the project, we did the commissioning with the Australian engineers. And I am a Kenyan engineer. We are among the best. So the argument that we fall short in one way or the other is not true. I have been involved as the president of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya in establishing coming together of engineers, Kenyan engineers in North America, US and Canada. And engineers, Kenyan engineers are working in Boeing, Lockheed Martin. They are working in GE, the best in the biggest companies involved. They are leaving this country, going to work in Germany, Siemens, and whatnot. In fact, we are losing engineers in this country because they're the best brains. So the argument that we fall short in any area is not true, it's not honest.
It's deliberate.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, there's also another concern that I've had that, you know, as engineers, you have this habit of, within yourselves, you're cannibalizing one another, if that's the perfect term to use it. But now they say that senior engineers are, and I know this could be in each and every sector, that you're holding onto these jobs. You're not willing to train these, you know, engineer graduates or junior engineers, you know, to reach the capacity that now they would be qualified and also ready for the job market. Then if that is the case, if you're not giving these engineers the fighting chance to, you know, to thrive at the industry, then whose responsibility is it?
Yeah, part of what we do as IEK is mentorship. And we are very good engineers willing to pass on the skills. I was trained to be where I am by one of the best engineers. And today I'm training more engineers. So we are deliberate. Now, every year, there is always problems here and there. We have raised a complaint where through the affordable housing program, initially some people did not want external consultants to come through the program. When external consultants came, we have seen them wanting to ring-fence the projects for themselves and block others. And that is why, even when His Excellency the President has given direct to have more consultants brought in, there are people still keeping others out. So that gluttony, that is still there. But of course, like I've told you, we keep on engaging our members and advocating for opportunities to be created by members. And I can tell you, I have been part of witnessing a great growth in numbers of the institution, where we are mentoring more people. The conversion rate, registration rate is improving because opportunities are being availed for more engineers and stuff like that. So while we have struggled with that in the past, we are not struggling with that. Now the real struggle is of more opportunities for engineers. And that is what we are saying. We need to be deliberate in creating more opportunities for engineers, because the moment there are not opportunities for engineers, and I told you, the registration process involves initial professional development, where you are involved hands-on in a project. So when there are no projects, then there is no way of engineers getting experience so that they are registered. Yeah, but the fact is that we must create more opportunities for engineers. All
right. And you know, government is currently pushing for STEM subjects as we come to this tail end of this conversation. If the government is pushing for STEM in the current CBE curriculum, and we are looking at, you know, unemployment rate in the engineering sector, then if we are now bringing in a lot of students from, you know, schools who have done STEM courses, then do they stand a chance in the industry?
No, I mean, you need to be in STEM. Why? Because, and you have raised an important point of CBE. We must think about the overhaul of our education system, where we train people to be problem solvers. We need to invest in STEM, and we need to invest in technology, because we know the world is changing. I was in China the other day and I saw robots. A robot, for example, doing the work that 10 painters can do, you understand, and doing it very well. So we must be deliberate in investing in STEM. Otherwise, the world is going past us. But also, we must invest in an environment where we improve the regulatory environment for people to invest more in manufacturing. So we create more opportunities. Opportunities in manufacturing as we industrialize as a country, research and development. We need all this. We need to invest in power sector, reliable power, because we need that one to grow in industrialization and manufacturing.
All right.
And most importantly, we must be deliberate as in this country to focus on local solutions. Focusing externally is not sustainable. And I'm very confident that if we look around, we look at infrastructure bonds and stuff like that, we can finance our own infrastructure using the local resources or even foreign remittances by people in diaspora. So we must be deliberate in looking at local solutions to create opportunities for our members. And if you want to get into STEM as a young student, please, you know that you have a bright future.
There's a chance. All right, as we come to the end of this conversation, you have a convention, 32nd International Convention. Speak to us about that as we close.
Thank you very much. So the Institution of Engineers of Kenya is holding the 32nd IK International Convention between 25th to 28th. We will be November this year, which is actually the next 2 weeks. We will be in Pride in Paradise in Mombasa. Now, we have talked about the challenges that we have. The conversation we'll be having on that second International IK Convention will be about solving these problems. Our theme is engineering the future, the roadmap for Kenya. We have international delegates. Already we are talking of 40 of them from other countries, but we also have policymakers, we have contractors, we have practicing engineers who are coming together to have a conversation. It's a national conversation about the future of this country that you're going to be having. And what we're saying is that this country is going to be 100 years in the next under 40 years. What will this country look like in the next 40 years? Therefore, engineers in this country are coming together and providing solutions about the future of this country. So this convention on the 24th to 28th in Pride in Paradise is about the future of this country, designing the future of this country, which is going to accommodate each and every one of us. We are going to transition from a current struggling country to a first world country, because we believe it is possible, and we'll take engineers to think about the future of this country.
Of course, and they say engineering the future, the roadmap for Kenya, hashtag 10K Engineers March, according to the president here of IEK. That is Shama Kiteme, president once again of Institution of Engineers of Kenya, IEK, speaking to us about the state of engineering in Kenya. Thank you so much. Should I call you president for making time?
Asante sana.
All right. That brings us to the end of this segment. My name is Anne Odida. Good morning. Thank you so much for watching.